Hi there, I'm Dark Shades, the reggae counsellor, and I'm on Afrobean Radio every Wednesday between the hours of 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. live to accept any texts or messages that you have that you want to ask me. And hopefully we're going to get a phone line installed and we're going to be able to accept calls. But for now, if you do have any concerns, you can send me a text during 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. on a Wednesday. And I put actually the cover page will actually have all the details that you need. It'll have the phone number, which is 07309 853 369. It'll have the website address. It will have the times. It will have everything. Anyway, this video is for those parents who are struggling and who feel that they're not confident enough to educate their children at home. We have this kind of perception that teachers know best. We've been raised to believe in an education system, but we've found that the education isn't fail-proof or, what's it? Fail-safe. I think that's the word I'm looking for. In other words, it's not perfect. And so sometimes, because we put it on a pedestal, we put education, especially in the UK, on a pedestal, we assume that we are not capable of teaching our children at home. But let me tell you something. There's a little trick to educating, and teachers use it all the time, counsellors use it all the time, and that is to switch the onus on the person who wants to learn. Now, supposing you haven't got no A-levels, you didn't have basic education, you feel as though you can't read and write. Believe me, your children know more than you think they know. You know more than you think you know through your life experiences and through common sense. Children know more than we think they know because they've got an intellectual brain that is geared to learn everything from the moment they're born. And so the two of you could be a tower house, because the two of you, if you can use your common sense and life experiences, and the child uses intellect and, curiosity, this is how you can teach them and give them homeschool education without knowing anything about the subject. Now, you might say, what the hell is she talking about? Well, basically, a child would say, Mummy, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. It could be calculus, it could be algebra, it could be science. And you're going to be thinking, oh, I'm so sorry, darling, I can't help you. I feel so stupid. Oh, and you start chastising yourself. But you don't do that. You don't tell your child how stupid you feel. You don't tell your child you don't know the subject. You want to build confidence in the child. Because if you tell your child you don't know the answers and you don't know the subject, that causes your child to think, they're an adult. How come they don't know? Because children have this perception that adults know everything. So what you do then is that, okay, son, or okay, love, or okay, daughter, or okay, whatever you call her. How do you think it's done? What do you think the teacher wants from you? How do you think you can answer that question? You know something? I'm going to go downstairs and make ourselves a nice cup of tea. Do you want any beef burgers? Do you want anything to eat? Do you want a nice sandwich? And while I'm doing that, you try and work out what you think the answer is. Children love to be challenged. Children know more than they think they know. Once they know that you've got their back and you're there, they will proceed to find the answer. And what you can say to them is that don't check Google, don't check YouTube. What we'll do is, after you've worked it out, we're going to check Google and YouTube to see if you've got the right answer. So you can still use those resources, but they're not a fallback. They are just to confirm, because you want to motivate the child. You want to get those grey cells working. You don't want your child to become lazy. And children, they love a challenge. So that is what you need to do. You pass the buck back to them. Mummy, I don't know how to do this sum. So how do you think you do it? Just try and work it out for yourself and see what you come up with. And then I'll go through it with you after you've done the most of it. And then when they're telling you, your common sense will kick in and say, oh, well, you shouldn't have done that. Don't you think you should have done this? Even though you don't know how to do it. That's what, counsellors, when a client comes to a counsellor, they'll say, for example, I'm sabotaging relationships and I don't know why I'm sabotaging relationships. And the counsellor will say, but why do you think you're sabotaging relationships? And the person will say, oh, I don't know. I don't know if it's because this happened and I don't know if it's because that's happened. But why do you think it might be related to that incident or that incident? Oh, I don't know, because of this and because of that. By the time they've finished asking the questions, the client has got the answer. And that's how you teach. And that kind of teaching stays in your mind. It doesn't disappear as soon as the door is closed or the book is closed or the PC is closed. Because like they have that saying, once you teach a person to fish, they'll always have food for the rest of their life. But if you get the fish for them, they'll go hungry after you leave. So this is a similar situation. So don't feel discouraged if they're talking about homeschooling. Use it to empower yourself. When your child tells you how they think they've worked it out, they're actually teaching you, but they don't know. And you use your life experiences and your common sense to kind of question. So how did you come to that? And then you might even say, so how come you didn't do it that way? And they'll say, oh, because of this. And you'll say, oh, but do you think? And then you'll find out through what you know, even though it's got nothing to do with the subject, but it's got to do with your life experiences and, your common sense. You'll both come up with an answer. It's absolutely remarkable. And so when you're talking about homeschooling, don't panic. That's the most important thing. The first thing you think about is, I'm going to throw it back at my child. They'll come up with the answer. I just wanted to make sure I haven't forgotten anything else, because this isn't really long. This is just supposed to help you, to motivate you so you don't feel so embarrassed, so you don't feel down, and you don't feel stupid and all those kind of things. Because at one point in our lives, no one knew anything. When we were born, did we know anything? No. How did we learn? People told us, and all these people who were telling us, were they telling us the right thing? We don't know. We were like sponges. We just absorb. And as you grow up and as you get older, you can get rid of all the things that don't work for you. You can get rid of all the miseducation, the misinformation. So the same way you didn't know anything from the beginning is the same way you have learned through your own way of dissecting and throwing out what you don't need and asking questions, being curious. Being curious is a very, very good trait. And I think that is what. Oh yeah, with homeschooling, you will need approximately 22 to 25 hours a week for 38 weeks in a year. It doesn't have to be prescriptive. You can, because the local authority is aware that the child is in your care 24/7. So that's what will happen. They know that you'll probably be educating them outside that parameter. So you might even decide to say to them, oh look, we're going to go to the Science Museum at 6 o'clock. That's after the lockdown, of course. While the lockdown is on though, just use it to your advantage. Use it to kind of think about what questions you can ask your child and how you can facilitate or enable your child to feel confident that he is learning and that he's learning with his parents. And when he grows up, he goes, and he's a banker or a lawyer or a scientist. Oh, my parents taught me. And they're like, your parents? Yeah, my parents taught me, because I was going to school when COVID was around. And we couldn't go to school, so my parents had to teach me. And you can feel proud. And you would think to yourself, bloody hell, I didn't know I could do that. So you don't have to, with everything else that's going on, don't let homeschooling add to the pressure. I know it's difficult to homeschool and work, so I'm hoping that this kind of video will help you not to see it as too much of a challenge that you can't overcome. What else do you need to know? Yeah, some parents, they might think that education is compulsory, and they think schools are compulsory because they link the two together. Education is compulsory, but schools are not. So when the government sends their kids home, they're quite obliged to do that. So it's not against the law. It's got nothing to do with human rights. Human rights is just to do. The education is the fundamental right for every child. So, but not necessarily to go to school. Parents also have a right. You have a right to educate your children at home, and that's under the Education Act. And all you need to be able to do is have a good environment that's clean and conducive to learning. You have the resources, the pens, the paper, the books, and you can provide you provide an education suitable to their age, ability, and attitude. And if they have special needs, you can get support from the local government for that. And I think age, ability, attitude. And I think that's about it. Bye bye.